Track days first became popular in the 1990s, with circuits opening themselves up to the public for a fee. Since then, they have become increasingly popular, and car companies have even started making cars specifically designed for these events. In today's episode, we are going to be driving some of these specially designed cars. First up, we have one of the original purpose-built track cars, the Ariel Atom V8. Introduced in 2008 and based upon the more casual Ariel Atom, the Atom 500 boasted a 500 brake horsepower 3-litre V8 engine that was derived from two Suzuki Hayabusa motorcycle engines. The whole car had a weight of just 550 kilograms and can do 0 to 62 miles per hour in 2.3 seconds, which made it the fastest production car in the world at the time of its release. Let's see how quickly it can go up the Goodwood Festival of Speed hill climb. And the Ariel Atom V8 did the Goodwood Festival of Speed hill climb in 43.6 seconds. Now that is a blisteringly quick time that puts it 15th on our overall leaderboard currently, just behind the McLaren MP413 F1 car, which did a time of 41.4 seconds, and in front of the Mazda 787B Le Mans car, which did the hill climb in 45.6 seconds. The next car I'll be driving up the hill is the BAC Mono. The BAC Mono is a single-seater sports car that was first launched in 2011. It's powered by a 2.5 litre 4-cylinder engine provided by the Ford Tuner's Mount Tune and produces 305 brake horsepower, has a 0 to 62 time of 2.8 seconds and a weight of just 580 kilograms. Let's see how quickly it can go up the Goodwood Hill. The BAC Mono did the Goodwood Festival of Speed hill climb in 46.9 seconds. That puts it 20th on our overall leaderboard, sandwiched between the Lola Aston Martin Le Mans car and the Aston Martin DBR9. I really enjoyed driving this car, and it was easier to drive than the Atom, being a little bit more predictable. Next up is the KTM X-Bow R. Released in 2008, the X-Bow R is a developed version of the X-Bow and is powered by a 2-litre TFSI engine from Audi, which produces 300 brake horsepower. The car is the heaviest we have driven so far at 795 kilograms and is the slowest to 0 to 62 time with a time of 3.7 seconds. Let's see how quickly it can go up the hill. KTM X-Bow R did the Goodwood Festival of Speed hill climb in 52.7 seconds. Definitely the slowest car we have driven in this episode so far. The KTM X-Bow R sits 36th on our overall leaderboard between the Roof CTR Yellowbird and the Aston Martin DBS. Moving away from specifically designed track cars, our next car is a road car that has been tuned and adapted for the track, the Lotus Exige V6 Cup. The Lotus Exige was first introduced in 2000 and since then has been fettled with and made more extreme. This version was released in 2013 and based on the Series 3 Lotus Exige. It is powered by a 3.5 litre supercharged Toyota V6 engine which produces 345 brake horsepower. It has a 0-62 time similar to the KTM at 4 seconds. Let's see how quickly the Lotus Exige V6 Cup can go up the Goodwood Festival of Speed hill climb. And the Lotus Exige V6 Cup did the Goodwood Festival of Speed hill climb in 54.1 seconds. That time is almost identical to the Ferrari F40, which managed a 54.2 seconds. That means the Lotus is placed 39th on our leaderboard. Our next car is one that I would love to own, or at least have a drive of in real life. The Porsche Cayman GT4. It was released in 2016 and contains components from the 911 GT3. It is powered by a 3.8 litre flat-six engine derived from the 911 Carrera S engine, and it has a power output of 385 brake horsepower, can accelerate from 0-62 mph in 4.4 seconds. Let's see how quickly it can get up the Duke of Richmond's driveway. And the Porsche Cayman GT4 did the Goodwood Festival of Speed hill climb in 54 seconds dead. That ties it with the 2006 Chevrolet Monte Carlo NASCAR and puts it just ahead of the Lotus Exige V6 Cup that we just drove. Now we have 3 cars left to drive in this episode, and next up is the Porsche 991 GT3 RS from 2015. The 4 litre flat-six in the back of the 911 produces 500 brake horsepower and propels this car to a top speed of 196 mph. With a 0-62 time of 3.1 seconds, it is the fastest accelerating of our full-bodied track cars and should do well in this challenge. Let's see how quickly it can go up the hill. The Porsche 911 GT3 RS did the Goodwood Festival of Speed hill climb in 51.7 seconds, which places it 34th on our leaderboard between the Shelby Daytona Coupe and the BMW 3.5 CSL. I really enjoyed driving this car, but I think its weight compared to the BAC and the Atom played a big part in its slower time. The 2016 Dodge Viper ACR is going to be the next car to be driven up the hill. Since playing Gran Turismo way back in the late 90s and early 2000s, I've had an unexplained love for the Dodge Viper. The ACR is a track-focused version of the third generation Dodge Viper and certainly looks the part. It is powered by an 8.4 litre V10 engine that produces 645 brake horsepower and can do 0 to 62 mph in just 4 seconds. I couldn't wait to drive this car up the Goodwood Hill, so let's see how quickly it can go. The Dodge Viper ACR did the Goodwood Festival of Speed hill climb in 51.8 seconds. That puts it 35th, a tiny 0.1 seconds behind the Porsche 911 GT3 RS. Now, our final car is a special one, and probably the ultimate track day car. It is so special, in fact, you weren't allowed to take it home. Instead, you called up the manufacturer, told them which track you wanted to drive at, and what day, and they would drive your car in a lorry with a full team of mechanics to maintain the car. I am indeed talking about the F1 inspired Lotus Exos 125. Powered by a 3.5 litre Cosworth V8 that revved up to 10,300 RPM and produced 640 brake horsepower, the Lotus 125 is a truly incredible idea that sadly didn't get very far, with only a few being made and delivered to customers. The few that were made offered GP2 levels of performance and allowed their owners to get a taste of what it's like to be an F1 driver. Now let's see how quickly this F1 lookalike can get up the Goodwood Festival of Speed hill climb. The Lotus Exos 125 did the Goodwood Festival of Speed hill climb in 40.6 seconds. That is an absolutely incredible time that puts it in 14th place, just half a second behind the Lotus 98T and 0.8 seconds ahead of the McLaren MP413. This car is absolutely incredible and felt amazing to drive. Quite amazingly, I hadn't driven this car since my very first video on the channel, where I drove this car at Monza way back in March 2014. As you can see by the leaderboard, the Lotus 125 was by far the quickest car we drove, followed by the other lightweight track cars, the Ariel Atom V8 and the BAC Mono, which were both quicker than the Lamborghini Sesto Elemento that we drove quite a few episodes back. Now, I hope you've enjoyed this special episode. It was great fun to make and choose the cars that I'd be driving up the hill. I knew some of them would be quick, but I was definitely surprised by just how quick the Ariel was, being just a few seconds off an F1 car. Next time we'll be driving a Le Mans car up the Goodwood Festival of Speed hill climb. See you then.